This is a very tough weapon to review. One thing's true though. There's something really special here that makes it what it is, and you can do some wild things with it. All that's going to reflect with how I reviewed it overall. Not only that, there's multiple combinations for it. I believe it's technically the chase of the season, this long season. And that, of course, depends on whether or not you find the value. It is special, and there's a chance it could take over usage from some of your other weapons. You guys seem to like the scorecard overview that I introduced in the previous video, and the goal with that is to outline my thoughts, how I view the weapon. If you dip early, you get the gist of it, and as I go through the review, it helps explain why I ranked it like that. This one and the previous review had some high marks, some future weapons, not so much. I've changed one category though, meta relevance. That's subjective, which is fine, but more so in the sense that with the seasons changing, artifacts, weapons, buffs, nerfs, they come and go. It's not really a good representation. So I'm open on what a new category should be, what that should change to, but until then, I just have a clear main use for the weapon. PvE 4.5. Very strong weapon that you can set up a couple different ways. That, of course, is if you have the right roll on it. Very strong there. For PvP, I have a 2.5. It's a very fun weapon to use, let's get that right, but I have some good reasons why I have it ranked just directly on that midline. It's not great, but it's definitely not bad. The main use, it's a PvE weapon, and it's a good one at that. The fun factor, 5. I love using this thing. Build flexibility, 5. It can be used on any character, any way you want. But with the right roll, it's going to excel with certain combos on Void. And the must-have score, I have 5. It's one of a kind, it's 101. So very high marks from me, but the issue with Ros Arago is that it's a world drop weapon. That's a blessing and a curse. And I can say personally, world drop rates are the best that they've been in a while, but it's still RNG. There's no clear path. I've had 8 of them that I've kept. I've deleted about 5, so they are dropping. As a world drop, you can get it from the gunsmith, activity after rewards, Ingram on the ground, turning one in. There's no clear path, just the lucky path. And I've stated many times before that these world drop weapons are some of my favorite weapons in the game because usually a couple of them are truly special. They have things that no other weapons can get, and a lot of the time, we're just doing mind-numbing things and activities to get red borders for weapons. The loot that drops in between, again, most of the time, that's just fodder. Sure, you get a nice no red border scatter signal, that's great, but it's going to be gone once you get it crafted. But a world drop weapon, like this, when it drops, the world drop weapons that I want when they do drop for me, I get that old excitement about Destiny. I don't get that any other way, and that sucks with this game. It's the lottery aspect, the looter shooter aspect. And especially with this one, there's some things to get excited about. It's a Void 600 RPM auto rifle. It has the wild card trait. In the third column, repulsor brace, slick draw, subsistence, dynamic sway reduction, permeability, rewind rounds, and the final column, onslaught, under over, attrition orb, surrounded, golden tricorn, deconstruct. Where this thing starts and ends is onslaught. They brought it back, and with Onslaught, final blows with this weapon increase its rate of fire. And essentially, with each stack, Onslaught 1 is 20%, 2 is 40%, 3 is 61%. It stacks at times 3, and the RPM, pretty much, it starts at 600, then goes to 720, then 840, then 966. So another way to think about it is it's shooting faster than a 900 SMG, and it's right under a trace rifle. That's a really good way to look at it. At Onslaught 3, it's pretty much shooting like a trace rifle, which is wild. Onslaught came back on 4 different weapons: Breakneck, 450 auto, lethal abundance, high impact auto, the Mercado 45, which is a 450 machine gun, and then Ros Arago, a 600 RPM. So it's starting off pretty fast, and then it gets a little bit faster. And that's why it's so special. As far as Onslaught, the ones that I have Repulsor Brace Onslaught, Rewind Onslaught, and then Slick Draw Onslaught. Some other rolls, Dynamic Surrounded, Permeability Surrounded, Permeability Deconstruct, and then Subsistence Surrounded. When this thing drops, you want Onslaught on it, but let's talk about and kind of piece apart other perks that go in that third column, because there's 4 or 5 that are really good. And you might be looking for one in particular, but give the other ones a chance. A really good one is Repulsor Brace. Defeating a Void debuff target grants an overshield. So you have to think on the Void subclass. You have things like an Orb of Power getting you Devour. So you have Devour up, you get Onslaught going to pretty much that trace rifle RPM. And also remember about Onslaught, it has that built-in faster reload, and the original perk a long time ago had that too, but also opposed to the previous perk. It used to kind of downgrade your damage. It doesn't do that anymore. Really nice. It keeps the same damage while you're in Onslaught, but at times 1 Onslaught, it's plus 15 reload, times 2 is 25, and then the max stack, you get 35 reload, so it helps get through that if you need to reload to keep your stack up. But with Repulsor Brace, you're seeing it in PvP. Or in PvE, I'm using it with your Falcons. So after I dodge, come out invisible, I get volatile rounds going. So I come out of that first gunfight with an overshield going into Onslaught 2. And since I dodge, I have Reaper, I pick up the orb. Now I have Devour with all that going. It's really, really nice. Or something like Controlled Demo on Titan. Throw in the shield, whatever. And in PvE, it's kind of like the old Feist funnel web a little bit. It really is. You're using it as your main mowing thing. And in PvE, what I want you to consider when you're using this thing, and like, as long as you're set up right with your other weapons, maybe, you know, you pair a Wish Ender with like a bait and switch Apex or whatever it is, like this thing can complement what you're doing. So Repulsor Brace, great on a Void sub. But then something like Rewind rounds, right? That's more universal. You know, the mag's at 40 or whatever, maybe get a little bit higher. All those hits, it's throwing ammo back in, extending that magazine to 70 or 80 rounds. It's really, really good. And that goes for PvE or the Crucible. And I think that the dark horse here, it's one that I'm looking for, is Permeability Onslaught. Using your class ability changes this weapon's damage type to match your subclass until you stow the weapon. So if you're on a solar sub, you dodge, all those things from the artifact start coming into play. Rapid solar precision hits and rapid solar weapon final blows grant Radiant. Raise of precision, while Radiant solar precision final blows cause combatants to ignite. And this thing shooting at nearly 1000 RPM kindling trigger, Radiant causes solar weapons to apply scorch to unscorched combatants. So Ros Arago with permeability on a solar sub looks really, really good with Onslaught, so that's something to look for. And then of course we have something like Subsistence. Defeating targets partially reloads this mag from reserves. 17% of that mag's coming back. So it's shooting so fast, killing so quick, there's a good chance you're not going to have to reload. So that's a great combination for it. Nothing but high marks for PvE on this thing. Ideally with the Void sub, Repulsor Brace. If not, we have Permeability, Subsistence, Rewind. Like all of those are solid. And when we look at the fourth column, Under Over, no. Attrition, no. Golden Tricorn, maybe. Deconstruct, no. Surrounded, no. Not when Onslaught's there, so that's what you should be looking for. And give a number of different combinations a try. And it's just flat out fun to use. I really, really enjoy it. Now, when it comes to the Crucible, I've had a couple of times getting to Onslaught 3, and here are the TTKs with its RPM number. You need 8 crit, 1 body. So it's got a 0.8 TTK at base, that 8 crit, 1 body. Tier 7 to 10. You can add in a body shot for a little bit lower resilience, but we're going to be focusing on the 0.8 tier 7 to 10 resilience. 600 RPM, 0.8 TTK. Onslaught 1, 720 is a 0.66. Onslaught 2, 840 is a 0.57. And then the 966 Onslaught 3 is a 0.49. Like I said, a couple times I've gotten Onslaught 3. Really, really fun when that happened. People don't really seem to like it. But even just going from one target to the next, think of it like a Golden Tricorn or a Rampage. Onslaught 1 being a 0.66, really, really good. Exceptional, actually. And in most, if not all, the gameplay for the Crucible, I'm using the Dravalkin Hunter, meaning that's the whole invis, get the Void debuff, get the overshield, devour a lot of the time. It does fine. It did fine. Some gameplay I had on Rewind, that did okay too. The main takeaway, it's fun. It's a fun weapon to use. Not great, but not bad. In the end, as a 600 auto, even looking at something like Gnawing Hunger, right? This one right here I have is Zen Moment Kill Clip. Get a kill, reload. It's at a 0.6 TTK. That's better than Onslaught, close to Onslaught 2. And you have some play with the activation time with kill clip, letting a couple seconds go by after that first kill. It's chainable, so it can be replicated, if not a little bit better on other weapons. And that's just a direct comparison to another 600 AR. That's not mentioning all the other great PvP weapons that we have. And after using it, it's definitely not bad, but then again, it's not great. Don't expect too much out of it. If you're doing well with it, you're gonna have fun with it. Ideally for the Crucible, it would be Dynamic Sway with Onslaught. That works really, really well, especially as you go to Onslaught 1, then Onslaught 2. Because each shot you take while holding down the trigger gives you its benefits. It maxes out at 10 stability. So the faster fire rate, you're getting those benefits quicker. You're also getting the accuracy cone size and help. So that's what you ideally want for the Crucible if you want to go that route. And as far as mag options, PvE, you do want to have a higher mag. And with your barrel, range stability, reload even. I mean, Onslaught grants reload. You can try to min-max with something like Flared Magwell. In the end, you just want the perk in the combo. It's RNG. Like, best of luck to you. You're going to end up slotting the best available. So to bring back the scorecard overview, it is made for PvE. It does well there. And it depends on what you find value in. Again, you can make it a central part of your build, as we talked about with Permeability Radiant or Repulsor Onslaught on a Void sub, or just kind of as a workhorse paired with some other meta options to complement the build. And yeah, I had a lot of fun using this thing. Onslaught is just flat out fun. You can use it anywhere. Doesn't matter what subclass or what element you're on. It's just a good weapon. It's a rare weapon. 101. And again, I think it's the chase of the season. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Let's talk about Ros Arago down below. Have you gotten any good rolls of it? I had about 6 drop without Onslaught, and I was getting kind of upset because I really, really wanted it. And then they just started flowing. If you have one, tell us about it. What are your thoughts on it? I'm also going to be covering Breakneck pretty soon. It's Onslaught roll, being a kinetic weapon. I mean, there's different things you can do. I really like that this is Void, though, and the things that you can do with Void. And also keep in mind that Breakneck doesn't have permeability, and I'll talk about that more later on down the line. But thank you guys for watching. Until the next one, I am CoolGuy.